Warning, this podcast contains Jeffrey Dahmer. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the SC19 podcast for American Horror Story Hotel, Season 5, Episode 4, Devil's Night. I'm your host, Dom. With me, my co-host, Rachel.
Hello!
And my co-host, Omikins.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
So, Halloween episode. What'd you think?
Of course it's a good episode. It's American Horror Story Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Very different from the other Halloween episodes, though.
Yeah, I miss Edward Mordrake. He's always going to have a special part of my heart around Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, James Patrick March decides to invite a bunch of serial killers and John over for dinner. What a great mix that was.
Yeah, let's invite the cop over.
Well, I think John, Mr. March wants to make John into a serial killer.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. It definitely seems that way. But the guests that we had was John Wayne Gacy.
Yep.
Right. He was known as Killer Clown.
Mm-hmm.
He was a American serial killer and rapist who sexually assaulted and murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men between the years 1972 and 1978 in Chicago, Illinois.
In Illinois?
Illinois.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's French.
If you notice,
Illinois is French. You didn't know that? It's Illinois.
What I found, I love that they got the same guy that played Twisty to play him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
And I love the way they played him like this kind of, well, he was mental. He was like, he had a, he was younger than, his brain was younger than his body. That's really what, he was kind of mental.
Yep.
But the way they played him, I was cracking up. I was laughing.
Now, keep in mind, John Wayne Gacy, as well as all the other ones, are actual real serial killers that lived in the real world, not made up fiction for a horror story. These are real people.
American Horror Story has always been loosely based on real events.
Yeah.
So, this is more than loosely, but...
Yeah. Like, James Patrick March is kind of based on somebody, but he's not, a real person.
No.
These other people are real. They are 100% real.
But I do love how they made him kind of childlike in the way I was just cracking up. I'm sorry, I was actually laughing.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. The one that probably got the biggest news that I saw all over the place was Richard Ramirez. And not because of who Richard Ramirez necessarily was, but it was because it's the same actor that was in Murder House toward the end of the season. So they've reprised the role, and they're like, oh yeah, we have more returning characters. So I saw that everywhere.
I do like that he was like asked if Charlie was there. And he's still rotting in jail.
Yep, so Richard Ramirez was known as the Night Stalker. He was a American serial killer, rapist, and burglar. Highly publicized home invasion crime spree, and terrorized the residents of greater Los Angeles area, as well as San Francisco in 84 to 85. So he ended up dying of complications from B-cell lymphoma while awaiting execution at California's death row.
Yeah, he died in 2013, so he died not too long ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Then probably the most famous of all of them was Jeffrey Dahmer. And
I think it depends on the era.
Yeah.
Depends on where you're from.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any. The only one that I knew vaguely about was the Zodiac killer. So these guys are all new to me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Dahmer is, because he was known because he was a cannibal. He's a serial killer who had sex with the bodies.
He wanted
they were dead or alive.
He wanted them to be a part of him. He wanted to be a part of them.
Yeah. So, he committed, rape, murder, and the dismemberment of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991.
And when they finally caught him, they found all his freezers. He had leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
Body parts in his freezers, and they had to sit there one by one and figure out who's belonged to who.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and toward the end, it says a lot of his murders involved necrophilia. So he had sex with them after they were dead at that point.
Yep.
Which, interestingly enough, though, although he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, during the trial, he was found to be legally sane.
Mm-hmm. But, people in jail don't like people like that, so, he'd never made it out.
Nope. He died on November 28th of 1994 when he was beaten to death in prison by Christopher Scarver, a fellow inmate at the Columbia Correctional Institute.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, the people in jail, they have a code. They don't like people that do bad things to kids.
Yep.
Or do this kind of crap.
Yep. Then the most media sensationalized was the Zodiac killer, who still to this day is unidentified.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great the way they handled it.
Yeah. I love it because he was like, it's about time you show up. Well, I was writing letters and...
Yeah.
And he just like nonchalantly, he was like, "Oh, I was writing letters," they're telling him, "Oh, you did wrong by giving yourself a name," and all this kind of stuff. And the banter
I love when John was going around and he was pointing out who they were and why they died, and he goes, "And you, I expected you were dead," because nobody knows. They still don't know who he is. The Zodiac killer was involved in Northern California in the late 1960s and 1970s. He has murder victims in Benicia, Vallejo,
California,
Baresi, and San Francisco between December 1968 and October 1969. 4 men and 3 women between the ages of 16 and 28 were targeted. And the killers originated the name Zodiac because of letters that he sent to the local Bay Area police department, taunting them with cryptograms and ciphers. Of the 4 cryptograms and ciphers that he sent, to this day, only one of them has been solved.
Yeah, so. They don't. I mean, they have a rough idea how old he was, and then so either he's dead now or he's really, 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 really old.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different. They think he's a truck or whatever, because from where, all of them, where they're right off of, all these towns are right off a main freeway or highway. So
yeah, I know the case has been closed a couple times, reopened. It's been marked as inactive in 2004, and then March of 2007 it was reopened again. And it just, at this point, it remains open in the city of Vallejo as well as Napa County.
Yeah, the only way they're going to find out who it is if, he says it on his deathbed, or someone comes forward to saying, he told me, or so-and-so told me. But other than that, I don't think they're going to find out who it was.
Yep. And then returning American Horror Story cast member Lily Robb returns as Aileen Wuornos, who was an American serial killer who killed 7 men in Florida between 1989 and 1990. She claimed that her victims had either raped or attempted to rape her while she was working as a prostitute, and that all of the homicides were committed in self-defense. She was convicted and sentenced to death for 6 of the murders and was executed by the state of Florida by lethal injection on October 9th, 2002. She seems to be the one that's going to stick around the most out of all of them.
Yeah, there was actually a movie. Charlize Theron played her. It's called Monster. It's actually a really, really good movie.
Oh,
because
okay.
Oh, when you see it, you're like, that they spot on. She looked just like her, and she doesn't look glamorous or anything. And she did a really good. She put on weight for it and everything.
Yeah,
she threw herself into the role. It's really good.
Yeah, no, it's this is one I didn't really know too much about. And the way that they started tying into the story, and they have the way John's accusing, but your victims didn't have any prior history of this, and she's sitting there going, "Well, I don't know their history. I didn't research them. You know, it was however they were on that particular day.
Yeah.
And it's true. You know, so we don't really know Eileen's. I'm not even talking about horror story. I'm talking about real life. We don't know her story, whether she was lying or not. You know, she could have. She seemed like she was addicted to the killing, right? Because she did it so many times. But that's not to say that she wasn't actually getting beat these times.
Oh, no. I mean, she's had things happen to her in the past. She was molested. She was raped before and stuff. And from what I've seen many shows about her, they were just speculating that she was basically putting all her emotions to these guys. If they did anything wrong, all of a sudden, light switch went off on her, and just like she did in the horror story, it was like two different people, just a light switch, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but we first met her when John was at the bar.
Yeah.
And
I knew exactly who she was as soon as she sat down.
Yeah, it was great. I knew who she was because I knew the role that Lily Robb was going to be playing. So, but I didn't do any research onto the real life counterpart of that.
Yeah, so. the hair flip and the brushing of the hair is that is totally true. She did that all the time. Like I've seen interviews, and when she was in the courtroom and stuff, she did that.
So they're drinking scotch, was it?
He had a Manhattan.
He had a Manhattan.
Yeah.
Double. Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of drinking, and Liz warned him, "Don't do it.
Don't do it.
You're too drunk.
You're too drunk to realize how ugly she is." He's like,
too drunk to care.
Too drunk to care. So he didn't listen, and he went to bed with her anyway. Which turns into, the typical scenario of Aileen. Turned into a brawl. And John ended up getting the upper hand and handcuffed her to the sink.
Mm-hmm.
But when John goes down to the front desk and starts going through the guest book, he started pulling, and I actually took a picture of the guest book. Because you guys know.
I looked at the guest list.
Yeah, the guest list was everybody that was in the room.
Yeah.
But the sign-in sheet, the guest book. So we had, just for reference, I actually have the picture. There's the guest book right there. So the first name on here is Danielle Levesque, which does not seem like a big deal. Mm-hmm. Danielle Levesque was actually one of the victims from Murder House during the school massacre that was done by Tate. So that was one of the names of the victims that was on that plaque. So the fact that they brought that back, I thought was kind of cool. However, this says they're from Templeton, Rhode Island, which that happened in California. So I don't know. Maybe originally from Rhode Island, moved to California. We don't know the whole story. We've never had a background story on Danielle Levesque, other than the fact that they were one of the murder victims. The rest of them, I couldn't really find much on. There's some guy, Richard. I can't make out the handwriting in the end. It begins with an R and ends
Ramirez.
in a Y. No, begins with an R and ends in a Y. Which it's definitely, it's not Richard Ramirez. There's a guy named Thomas French, who once again Googled and cannot find anything on. There is Noah and Rachel ENGH. I Googled, there's no history about anyone that was murdered like that, but there is a Noah and Rachel that got married with that same last name that there's listed. So I don't know if some of these are like friends of the writers or producers or something that,
there was a couple in the bed that Ramirez did kill.
Right.
Could have been them.
Well,
yeah,
I saw Richard Ramirez sign in, so it could have been Ramirez because he did sign his name pretty messy. So there is a Z, and then he wrote in cursive.
Some Z's do kind of
look like a Y, so it could be Ramirez. He signed in when he came in, so
it's possible.
And he was because he was the second one to sign it.
Where's Richard Ramirez from?
California.
Places.
He might be from Mexico.
Something Park. His Richard Ramirez's zip code is listed as 90210.
That's California.
That's really funny. So if that's it, most of these people are in California. There was Aileen.
Dover.
Aileen Wuornos. She's on
Yeah.
there. Laura Lamar, something like that. It's another one. Couldn't find anything on, so I think it's a friend of the cast. And then there was I Am the Zodiac with the Zodiac symbol. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I Googled the first one, Danielle Levesque, and I was just like, I can't find anything on it. And then I'm like, let me go back, and I started looking through Murder House, and I found that, and I was like, okay, that's how I found that one. So then I thought all these other people were going to be people that have died or, something like that. But unfortunately, that was not the case. So wasted a lot of time on that Googling for absolutely no reason. But I thought the Danielle Levesque one was really cool to tie everything back. Because we know that this one has a lot of ties directly to Murder House. So,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I know. I like the way that they didn't glamorize or anything like that, the murderers, the serial killers, but they humanized them a little bit and gave them a little touch of humor, so you weren't like, oh my god,
So
freaked
you weren't
out.
completely creeped. Yeah.
So it was kind of funny.
Yep. I love though when James Patrick March said, "Hey Ricky, left some treats on your pillow."
Yeah.
You're thinking the hotel. Oh, left some mints or chocolates or something.
No,
No,
I knew exactly what he meant.
I knew. I
it
knew
was
exactly.
people.
Yeah, and then she went to give him the key. I don't need a key. He went in through the window.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it was great.
Monkey.
We got a lot of backstory on Maid Hazel.
Hazel Evers.
We got a lot of her kind of history and how she got so messed up. It's very similar to what happened to John, and that's why the two of them are able to make this connection.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that I finished the episode out, because as soon as the whole story with her son missing and disappeared and how closely, I was like, oh my god, this is the same thing that happened to John. I was going to go back now to the first episode when Holden disappeared and see if I saw that guy, like, standing in the crowd anywhere. I'm so glad I didn't waste my time with that.
You finished the episode first.
Yeah, of course. Because I paused the episode and I started Googling, like, in the middle of the guest book thing, so... I'm glad I waited till the end, because
that murder in Wineville or whatever, it's actually based on a real serial killer.
Right.
Yeah.
Ashley, Mike's on Twitter, she was talking about, because that's where she grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So she knew about it. That's why she was kind of like, a little too close to home. A little too close for home for her.
Yeah.
And I understand that is kind of creepy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it was in the 1920s, though, so...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why John was a little freaked out. Wait a minute. Well, Hazel would have been dead by now.
Yeah, well, that's why when he went to the station, he figured out he was just like, he was completely creeped out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you Googled the killer's name or anything, if it's actually that was the killer's name or not.
No, I didn't. Actually, I didn't. I was too focused on all these other killers.
Yeah, Gordon Northcott. Cott. That was the name. I paused it because I was like, ooh. And I just started reading all the...
Yeah. I mean, I went through the list that was on... before they even showed up on the episode, I went on the list of all the people that was on Liz's sheet. Mm-hmm. It said John Lowe, Richard Ramirez, John Wayne Gacy, Zodiac, Jeffrey Dahmer, and then in one frame was Aileen Wuornos, and it took me a couple times to get that one frame to show up, but I got it because I wanted to see, because I didn't think it was all going to be revealed.
It was a real thing. That was his real name.
I need to just watch the episode before I start thinking about all this stuff.
Well, that was the killer's real name too.
Cool.
Gordon Northcott.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love the fact that they put real things in like that.
Yeah. So do you think her kid's going to show up at some point?
Hazel's? No.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they kind of
Don't tell me it's because the kid's dead, because that's what this whole show is about, is people dead coming back. So
I don't think he had unless he's haunting his mom.
Yeah.
I don't think he had anything left over.
No. I mean, it's all about unfinished business. She
His-
was nowhere near the hotel, so it's not like he could be
Yeah.
liable to that.
No, but doesn't necessarily mean that ghosts can't travel. Murder
No.
House is a bit of a different story. This one we see people.
Yeah, spirits can connect to certain people, but I don't think he did.
All these people that, like, you know, they had ties to the hotel. John Wayne Gacy, Richard Ramirez, Jeffrey Dahmer. None of them died in the hotel.
No, but they have ties. The kid had never been to the hotel. The only tie he has to the hotel is his mother,
Right.
but
She wasn't there.
She wasn't at the hotel, so she didn't have a tie at that time.
No, but she's there now. So.
But she did.
I don't think we're going to see him.
No, because they explained that there was a mass grave and
his bones were scattered all over the place.
Well, they don't know for sure. They don't know for sure.
The
All they
body-
found
know for sure, but
body
still.
seems irrelevant to the spirits. It's not
Yeah,
tied to
well,
them
they
like
don't-
on
they
the
don't
show
know for
Supernatural.
sure.
You know, it's not like, oh, you burn and salt the bodies and then, you know, like the ghost dies. Like, it's completely different.
Yeah,
in
but
this
they don't know for
universe.
sure. All they found was his costume with
Mhm.
blood on it. But they
He
don't
may
know.
not even have died.
Yeah, he might have just ran away and never came back because he was too scared.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he was a little kid in the 1920s, it's possible that he's...
Well, let's see. This thing happened 1926-28 from what I read.
Yeah.
So
He's still gonna be an old man.
Possible
Old
that he's
man.
a 100-year-old man.
Mhm.
yeah.
It's possible. Unlikely, but possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that he could have became a vampire at some point, too. Like, we don't know. Everybody's a
And-
vampire in this show.
And it
Literally.
kind of gives you an idea of why she's so obsessed with getting the blood out of the sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because to me, like, I feel like they're going to try to resolve a lot of these characters' stories, and that seems to be Maid Hazel's unfinished business. So
Mhm.
to get her reunited with her son would be her finished business to allow her to move on.
Mhm.
So that's why I think that we'll see that kid at some point.
Possible.
As for Alex, we see her bringing Holden home.
Okay, we called that.
Yeah. And then she's just like, here, meet the dog. He's the
I
person
knew-
we replaced you with.
I knew as soon as she left the room that dog was dead.
Yeah. He's like, I'm thirsty. It's like,
See, the dog's
whatever
dead.
you get from that fridge you're going to, it's not gonna help. That dog is so dead.
Yep. Dog dead.
Mm-hmm.
Poor doggy.
Well, I mean, he was still whimpering when she pulled
Mm.
Holden off of him, but I mean, yeah, Holden did a number on that puppy.
He did.
My tummy hurts. You just ate a dog.
I want to go home to mommy.
I mean, his temperature was what?
75.
75.6 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, do you feel cold? Like, that's enough to be dead.
It's like, nah, I'm fine. I'm good. Whatever.
Your body temperature should not be more than 4 degrees in either direction from 98 degrees. 98.6.
I just had a flashback to the 90s.
Okay, then.
Okay.
Boy bands are stupid.
Yeah, but no, 4 degrees in any direction can more than that. 6 degrees, I think it is. Because if your fever gets up to like 104, it can start causing permanent brain damage and stuff like that. And going below, too, is really, really bad for you. So,
Yeah.
As a doctor, medically, that should have been a major sign right away that something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And not to go get him juice to take care of him. So, you know, but she's all focused on the, you know, oh my God, my child is back. She's, you know, we already said that this is her addiction, you know.
Mhm.
So she follows him, brings him back to the hotel, follows him to his coffin,
Mm-hmm.
and then meets up with the countess.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bitch, I will kill you. Fix my son.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how many of us called it last week, but I know I said that, she was going to do something extreme to be with her son.
Yeah. And then she's just like, I'm going to the police. And then Tristan comes out of nowhere and just cold clocks her.
Oh, God. He's such a jerk.
He is. I completely forgot about Tristan until that happened.
I love the fact that he automatically assumes she's screwing her.
Yeah. What, are you sleeping with her too?
Her too. I was like, bitch, please.
If you don't like it, leave, bitch.
I know, exactly. I sleep with who I want, when I want.
Yep. But sure
Really?
enough, Alex comes crawling back.
Does your husband know this?
No.
Sure enough, Alex comes crawling back and is explained that this is an ancient virus. This is the first time we've been... I mean, we know it was a virus, but this is the first time it's been referred to as an ancient virus. So I'm wondering how much more backstory on the virus we're getting. Probably not too much more than this, but the fact that it's labeled as ancient now, like, it's got me even more intrigued. But sure enough, Alex decides to become a vampire so she could live with him.
I knew she was going to.
Yeah.
As soon as she found out that, she could be with her son, that was all it took.
Mm-hmm.
Gildart's, I will cut a bitch. Fix my son, you son of a bitch. That's pretty much exactly how it went down.
Pretty much what she said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is going to be really interesting now to see what happens between Alex and John. Especially because the divorce papers have been filed. Yeah, Scarlett's over with the grandmother, making waffles or some kind of
banana cream pie.
Yeah, pie.
Or was it coconut cream pie?
No, I thought it was banana.
It was a cream pie.
It was a cream pie.
Cream bagels.
Oh, okay.
Cheese.
Well, now we know that,
applesauce.
Also Sally can go outside, but she wasn't off the property.
Mm-hmm.
And she's standing right by the gate. And we also know that she has a deal with March.
Yep.
So he leaves her alone. She goes, so then you can leave me alone for another year?
Mm-hmm.
So, must be a thing. Every year she brings him that and he leaves her alone.
Pretty much.
What does she mean by she's John's protector? Is that like a true thing? That's
I know.
Like, I don't... Is she just playing him or does she mean it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe that's her unfinished business. She didn't protect someone that needed it. I don't know. We don't know her complete backstory, so
We do not.
hopefully we'll get it and we'll understand what her unfinished business was.
Yeah, she's probably the one character we don't have a lot of backstory to right now.
Mm-mm.
No, we just know she's a junkie. That's pretty much all we really know.
Yeah.
Yep. You ladies have anything else for this episode?
Not really, no.
It's a pretty damn good episode.
It was a really good episode.
And now for next week, the I Told You So segment of this podcast.
It doesn't...
Room
it's
service.
Not
Alex uses an unconventional treatment to save a dying patient. A Halloween-hating couple tests Iris's limits.
Just because it says an unconventional treatment
You're still
doesn't
gonna
mean...
fight this up to the very last second, aren't you?
Doesn't mean she's gonna change him. Because the moment she does that, the Countess is gonna be killing whoever. She's gonna be so mad.
And that's exactly what we see in the preview for next week, is all of a sudden there's real tension between the two of them, like she's keeping a secret from the Countess.
Countess would have already done.
Yeah.
I know.
She will know.
And that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like the Countess knows what's up, and it's just...
Well, she knows about Iris, too.
Going on.
Like, you can tell that the Countess knows about Iris, right? Lickety split. She's like, you look different.
Right. And in the scene, too, we see that the patient, the dying patient, is in fact the kid that has, what is it, scarlet fever?
Measles. And
yeah.
He's got other things now, like pneumonia and all this other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we see all that in the preview. So that is the dying patient that they're talking about. And like I said, vampire, it's coming.
I don't think it's going to take. I
didn't say he's going to survive it, but I said that it was going to be tried.
I mean, the whole idea of becoming a vampire is not going to take. She's going to try something else.
I don't know. I doubt it. We will see.
She might be all, like, super scientist mode and, like, try to, like, you know, get one of the, like, atoms antibodies from the blood or whatever, and then
No, 'cause
concentrate it and then
she
inject
knows
that.
what it's like to lose Hayden, and now she knows what it's like to get Hayden back. Holden. Hayden. Get Holden back, so she's not gonna do that to someone else. Even though that mother's a bitch.
I think she might think about doing it, but then
Like, she's gonna
do it because,
like I said, she's gonna rip her blood apart and be like, okay, what is the ingredient that can fix things? And then take that out and try, and it's not gonna work.
That seems like way too much work.
She's a doctor.
If she thinks that she'll think about doing it, but the doctor and her will come out and be like, no, I can't do this to a kid because he'll never grow up. Or if he does, it's really, really slow. Or, we don't know what exactly happens to these kids. Do they always stay that young? Do they actually grow up, since it's not a typical vampire, it's a virus? I mean, we know that they can be killed, so can they age? Or do they age really slowly? Obviously, they age slowly because she was born in turn of the century.
Gildart says vampires will rise in this show. It will be Edward Cullen. Have fun with it.
No.
I disagree.
There is no sparkly vampires in this show.
Where can the people find you?
They can find me at Twitter at Savannah17 and on Twitch at Savannah.
Excellent. Rachel. Nikki, where can the people find you?
We're all the same.
Rachel, you're usually down there, so I got confused.
Can find me on Twitter.
Rachel, where can the people find you?
Rachel can find Rachel.
Oh, okay. Nikki, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at LadyVenom24.
Excellent. Nikki, where can the people find Bob Ross?
On Twitch right now at Bob Ross. Wait, I'm just gonna double check that.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's just Bob Ross.
It's just Bob Ross.
Is it?
Yeah.
Alright. You can find me down below at Phenomenon, PHENOMEDOM. You can also find all of us and more on Facebook, Gmail, G+, Twitter, and sorry, had something in my throat. And right here on YouTube at /ASOTV podcast for some more podcasts for some of your favorite TV shows. Till next week. See you guys later.
Bye.
I was totally gonna put some Bob Ross on the screen right now.
But you got an ad. Oh.
We can do that. We can do it anyway. Oh look, it's a happy car. What is this? Go away.
It's an ad.
Alright, thank you guys for watching.
Bye.
Bye. Bob Ross is in the huge.